Good afternoon, one and all. This is the first session of day 4 of 5 days International e-FDP and SDP on evolution in teaching, guiding values in learning, and social understanding through research. I, Dr. Prashant Pingre, organizing secretary of this e-FDP and SDP, welcomes today's resource person, an eminent personality in pharmacy field in North India, Dr. Harvinder Popli ma'am. She is director at DPSRU, New Delhi. I welcome Professor Borosthe sir, moderator of this session. I also welcome Dr. Shilpa Harak and Dr. Rupali Patil, coordinator for this e-FDP and SDP. And I'm thankful to all the audience for stay tuned sharp at 3:30. Thank you one and all. I request Professor Borosthe sir to introduce today's resource person, Dr. Harvinder Popli ma'am. Please over to you, Professor Borosthe sir.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Hello and welcome to day 4, section 1 of the e-FDP, e-SDP. So it's my privilege to introduce eminent speaker, Dr. Harvinder Popli, Director, Delhi Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research University, New Delhi. Madam did her postdoctorate from Manchester, UK in 1995-96. She did her PhD in novel drug delivery from Delhi University in 1991. She did her postgraduate diploma in business management and was a gold medalist from IMS Delhi in 1986. She did her MPharm in pharmaceutics with distinction from Delhi University. B.Pharm, again a gold medalist from Delhi University in 1984. She started her career in teaching and research in 1991 from College of Pharmacy, NCT Delhi. Then she joined Ranbaxy in 2000 in Research and Development Department till 2013. She has a huge experience in development of products, drug delivery, and development technologies. Then she joined as a professor in Delhi Pharmaceutical Science and Research University in 2016. She is an advisor in Health Committee of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry and FICI Biotech Committee member. Next slide, sir. She has been awarded with prestigious Commonwealth Fellowship in UK to pursue postdoctoral research. Then Lloyd's Lifetime Achievement Award, Pharma Ratna Lifetime Achievement Award, International Icon Award. She developed first innovative product for critical care and received Distinguished Service Award in Cardiovascular Sciences from International Medicine and Surgery Canada. She is a governing board member of academic institutes and Institute of Directors. Next, sir. She has published 5 books and 8 chapters in national and international books. She has 3 US patents and 2 European patents to her credit. She has more than 100 publications in national and international journals. So on behalf of Popli Education Society, Sir Dr. M.S. Gosavi, College of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, I welcome you, madam. And today, madam will share her expertise on topic. Over to you, English.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ma'am, I request you to share your screen, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Prashant and also Dr. Borosthe for introducing me and also, giving me opportunity to share my views. First of all, I would like to say that, I am talking on a topic which is very, very close to my heart. in a sense that I had you had seen my experience, which I worked with academics and then I worked with industry. So one thing which you missed is that when I started in Ranbaxy, I started with the R&D department. But soon, immediately in 2001 itself, the senior management asked me to perform some uh, collaborations with the international universities. And then soon I moved along with the proprietor and the senior management team of Ranbaxy's to do a licensing. So licensing that time was a very, very new subject. Basically nobody ever knew about. So Ranbaxy was the first, which forte into a global licensing. So I was heading global licensing. So which gave me opportunity to talk to several companies, and and also enhanced my experience of launching the products across the globe. Like we had acquired products from I had the experience of launching more than 50 products during my tenure of about 14 years with Ranbaxy. And during the launching of products, there was at one time, when I was specialist into drug delivery. So the product development was itself a very big thing, basically. So we always used to think that if you have developed a product, if you have done a R&D, that's the best thing. And never thought beyond it. But then when I performed this kind of a job, then I realized that 20% development. And post that, there are so many things which is further to be done for a product. And if you say the complete product process, then definitely, all of us, we know about that. The clinical development is the major component, which is significantly resource intensive. You require a lot of money to do a clinically develop the products. And once you do a clinical development also, then the regulatory or marketing authorizations. So regulatory, the IP, the regulations with each market launch, then the branding, then the packaging, and the commercializations, which leads to the commercialization. So prior to commercializations, post you develop a product in R&D, there are several steps to come to that. And when I said is the innovation, so uh, you would have seen that I'm also a director of DPSRU Innovation and Incubation Foundations. So I've been, where I'm director, I happen to be the alumni from the same institutes. So post I completed my tenure with Ranbaxy, and then I thought that I'll do something of my own. So I spent like 3 years being an entrepreneur journey, and but for some other reasons, and during, since I wanted to contribute to the profession as well, I joined up and took up these positions. So in the very beginning, when I joined in 2016, again the teaching profession, so I understood that there are so much of a gaps in a R&D. So that's the reason that we don't have a several products which has been from our Indian companies or commercialized. So onus lies on a lot of universities. So today, I'm really grateful that there are a lot of people or a lot of audience which is a PhD scholars, or they are from the institutes. So in the institutes, the same perception which also I also always had, that once we develop the product, then it's easier if the industry can take it and scale it up. But the several products fail even during the scaling up, or when you are looking into the costing of the products, and then the value propositions, what you say is, and competitiveness of the market. And of course, the regulations is again main hurdle. The IP is also one, which breaks basically the products. So I had been given opportunity. You have seen that the startup culture, it started in somewhere around 2016, when our prime minister talked about that startup India, stand up India. So 4 to 5 years before, only this movement came in. So there are India Invest, Nexus, there are Net Health, and there are all these PhD chamber, or we call it as CII. They all had a a startup wing, which started focusing on that startups and the young entrepreneurs. So everybody realized that that the entrepreneurs needs to be to be basically, everybody will not be a right candidate, to start up, do the company. And we realize there's a lot of challenge, especially in a professional institutes, because when I'm looking into even my institutes, the placement usually after the masters they get about 6 to 8 lakhs of a package. So even if you give them a seed money of 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs, that will not attract them. So they definitely wants to go to a Novartis or an Lilly or somewhere else, where they are looking for a very stable career, and they're very enthusiastic. And when you to take a entrepreneur journey, it's not simple, and success rate is also not very high. So it's not everybody's cup of tea. So in the innovation center, we thought that, okay, let us introduce even 10 to 15% of the students, who make start their own company, and not even wasting their time. So right in a first year, they are full of ideas and concepts, but they don't know how do they turn their ideas into a prototype. And specifically, our incubation center is focused on basically on the healthcare and the wellness, and taking the complete circle of a health and wellness space. So specifically in the pharmaceutical field, it is even more tougher. Why? Because of the regulations. If we talk about any engineering institutes, they are coming up with a solution, so they are ready with a product. If we talk about the IT sector, they definitely look into a solutions, make their applications, which has been available, or maybe in a couple of months or in a year or a 2 year. But when we talk about the drug discovery, when we talk about the drug, even the delivery, the major, even if you make the products, to launch the products, you have to undergo a clinical trials. So there are a lot of hurdles. So from a concept to even a prototype and to or the product, so it might not, it require a lot of investment. So how it will attract basically, the students, you take up that journey of entrepreneurships into there. So it was kind of a lot of challenge, but we had started with us. We started hackathon, and we started promoting those workshops, bootstraps, some of these things. And then we also brought angel investors, VCs, in a very, very small way. And I'll share with you the journey of diff as well. But in the beginning, I wanted each one of you to introduce that what is that happening especially in the healthcare space for the startups, and what are the things which needs to basically look into. So I'll share my presentation here with you. Can you see my screen? Hello?
No, madam.
Can you see my screen?
No.
No.
Madam,
Okay.
share screen option is there. Yes.
I have shared it. I'll do that. There is a share screen. I sounded on a share. Share screen. You cannot see it now also. I don't know what's the issue. Because in Zoom screen and then
Yes.
on the presentation. Can you see it now?
No, madam.
Hello. Yeah. You see me now? Yeah. Who's this? Yeah. Can you share? Can you see the screen now?
No, madam, no.
No.
Madam, once you click option share screen, the screen will ask me to share to allow to the participants. Share screen option is there.
I have clicked that option.
Okay, you just click it. Then there will be 3 more options, and you just click again share screen option.
Share
It
screen.
will, yes.
Yeah. Again, share screen.
Okay, then there is second option, application window.
Yeah.
Okay, you just click on application window and select your PPT, select your screen.
Ecosystem. I have put it on that. Okay. It says Universal Access Authority. No.
Yes, 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 madam.
That is also I have to press.
Share screen. Then second is again share screen, and then application window.
You can see it now?
No, madam, no.
No. Let me try sending you then. Share mail. Should I mail you on which number? Your own?
Prashant.pinglay@gmail.com. Yes, prashant.pinglay@gmail.com.
Let me see. Yeah. Just see in case you have received it.
Yes, yes.
You got it?
Just a minute.
Application window. Share. Amazing. Window displayed. Concept presentation. Yeah. Share. Is this okay now? Can you see it?
No, madam. No, no, madam.
Have you received my presentation?
No.
Sorry about
Yes, madam. Yes, I will check. I will download it and I will share it.
Okay. Oh. Okay. In the meantime, when you're sharing, I was, giving you a basis of creating an ecosystem of entrepreneurship in healthcare through the innovation and incubation. So that's the reason, I chose to, give you a topic on entrepreneurship, specifically in healthcare. Uh, you know, in a in this challenging time of a COVID, we had seen there are a lot of emphasis which was there on a healthcare now, and healthcare is a segment which everyone now thinks is there is a time that it will be growing. So in this time also there was a lot of relevance one has found of the medical staff as well as the paramedical staffs. So the pharmacist also spent a very significant role, specifically the lot of startups which were there in the form of a e-pharmacy, was the one who bloomed in this particular this zone specifically. So should I continue or wait for the?
No, just a minute, madam.
So okay. In the meantime, when you are loading the slides, I would say that when you talk about any successful startup, this is not a single breakthrough. It's not even a. Okay, thank you so much for doing that. You can go to the next slide. Maybe. So successful startup is not a single breakthrough. It is basically not even a sprint. So it's not even an event with a solo runner. So startup is basically a team sport, and it's a relay race. So while giving you an example, I've told you that when you develop a product, so from a product to commercializations or a launch, there are several steps which you need to follow, which includes the clinical development, which includes the regulatory approvals, marketing authorizations, its distributions, then its sales, and finally, it's kind of a branding and availability. So that means, for this, if that company or a startup has to do all these things, so definitely, one person will not be kind of expert. So you have to do as a kind of a team sport. So even if you've made a beautiful product, but if you're not able to launch in time, the competition is there, so you're not able to have the significance or a value propositions for that. So it's very important that a team spirit is being there. So the next slide, please. So I've shown you the two pillars. One is the academia, another is the industry. So academia also plays a very important role. And I think from the last 2 decades, we had been talking about the academia industry partnerships. But, in nevertheless, even I had spent about 2 to 3 decades uh, in pharmaceutical sciences. I've never seen that academia and industry are collaborating in Indian context, not like in a Western where they actually work hand to hand. So industry is the one, which gives you a high returns, and there are a kind of if we have a shared resources when you are developing this product. So there is some part of the development which can be taken up in academia and which can further be commercialized with the industry. So in a true sense, there can be a two ways. One is that the industry come up with the problems and ask basically academia to solve that. And if you realize, it's very true in the field of engineering. especially most of the consultancies or collaborations or the startups we had seen in IITs. They are the number one, having the startups, INTs and IMs, because the industry go with their problems and they found out the solutions. Now the other way is that you develop some product and that's the solutions to our industry, and the industry adapts and take. So the first one is easier. If there is a problem, it's easier, somebody can make the solution. So, but we have to reach that stage wherein, that there is a true partnership which can happen of academia and industry. Maybe the next slide. So, can we have next slide, please? So, who are the beneficiary? When we talk about basically the academia industry relationships, it's the students, it's the institutes, and also it's the industry. So the institutes, they get the in-house industrial exposures, the research opportunities, the relationships, the hands-on experience, and also, even if they don't go for a startups, it helps them in the placements. The institutes also gets the collaborations, their funding opportunities, their R&D activities, and there are recognitions of the university. And in turn, industry gets the knowledge sharing, there's a research enhancement, there's a problem statement solving, and there are several common goals, for a commercialization of the product, which has been beneficial. So in the next slide, what I try to explain is a student-led entrepreneurship model. So in a student-led entrepreneurship model, usually, if you see academia is at one side and industry is on one side, and if you see that, from a product to basically a prototype, so what is there basically with the with the students? They have their entrepreneurships development programs, which normally this academias will be deal with that, and then as I explained to you, the industry gives them the real problems that okay, this is what we wanted to overcome. For example, recently we developed one product for a company called Elnish, and they were making some protein product, and they had some stability issues, and they had some taste masking issues. These were the common to make a differentiated products. So they gave it to us. We found out the solutions. We did the small experiments, maybe in a 6 months or in a one M-Form kind of a project. We were able to do that, and they were able to launch the products. So, when you are trying to solve these problems, a lot of idea comes. So the researchers comes with the ideations. So these ideations, through the students or through the research, can lead to a conceptualized solutions, and from the solutions you come out into a feasible solutions. So feasible solutions, you can compare it with the prototype. So these prototype products, or what we can call it as the optimized formulations, if you talk about these products, and or if it's a medical device, it will be a prototype. And then you take a market feed about it, that how it is, and then it's a go to market through the accelerators or through the industry or through the venture capitalist. So in case in a student and entrepreneur, if he has been developing this idea, so this ideations, when it is in the form of a prototype and ready to go for a product, so that time he doesn't have enough money for that. So in that he will take this money and give it to the take it from a venture capitalist or the accelerators. So this fund has been available, so they have to do a pitching, and they were able to get. So from a young innovators, they becomes the young entrepreneurs. So that's a brief journey of making a young innovators to a young entrepreneurs. May I have a next slide, please? Now I'll share with you a little innovation and incubation landscape, what is happening in India. Maybe next slide. So in entrepreneurial ecosystems, specifically, there are 4 things which is very important. One is the startups. This is a new entrepreneurial, basically a company, which, which makes and goes to the marketplace and need by sharing an innovative product or a process or any service. So definitely, in this ecosystem, the supporting organizations are incubators, What is incubators? Incubator is that, one of the incubators, which is, in our university. It's a DPSRU Innovation and Incubation Incubator. So this incubator, provide them of facilities and a seed funds. So like that, you have several incubators which is available now in our India. Like we have a T Hub in a Telangana, and a lot of states, they are offering basically these hubs. Even Delhi is working towards a Delhi hub. We are a Delhi government institute, so the Delhi government has start up their 8 incubators in 8 of these universities. They are in triple ITDs, and even the IITD also has the incubators. So similarly, we have also received funds from a BIREC. So BIREC is the one, who's also propagating a lot of facilities for biotechnology products. So we have got about 5 crore funds from BIREC, and we are also a Bionest incubator to basically incubate a lot of ideas on biotechnologies. And accelerators are the one, which helps you to accelerate further. Like you have a basic facilities or a products, but you want to fast track your products. And then mentors is very important. The people like us who has got 30-35 years experience with the industry, with the academia, now can help those startups. It's a part of, and a lot of alumnus from the university who are pass out and in good positions in the industry, they also wanted to help and support the youngsters. Or they are the mentors. Even some of the faculty, they could be mentoring. Those are the mentors, and become very important part of our ecosystems. Any investment for any product development, investment is required. So the funding organizations like angel investors, the venture capitalist, and the private equity, these are the three important funding organizations. Besides that, in a government setups, you have a lot of funds from a DST, from other organizations, again from a startups, like for a BIREC as well. And the primarily thing in any of the institutes which you require is a research and knowledge institutes. So there are many research institutes also which provides that infrastructure and facilities, and will help to create the entrepreneurial ecosystems. Maybe the next slide. So if you look up startups in India, so India is ranked the 5th most startup friendly economy in the world. We have about 55,000 startups which is launched in India, and we have 40,000 active startups in India. And out of that, 33,000 are DPSRU registered startups. So these registered startups, are eligible to get a lot of other government supports and fundings. If you look into 385 funded startups that also have been kind of shut down, because of various reasons. And $63 billion of funding is raised by the Indian startups, and 5,400 funding, is like not there, and is delay basically has been witnessed. So there are about close to 3,000 number of funded startups, and average time taken for Indian startups to reach the unicorn stage status is about 7 years. So unicorn is one which will give you a 1 billion of a turnover. So if you look into the stand-up startup kind of a policy, and a lot of policies which government has introduced, and they had status that we should have 100 unicorns startups by 2025. So each company which has been started has been giving a 1 million return, or total in terms of revenue, then it will be considered in the definition of unicorn. Although yesterday we were deliberating also on the startups culture, and we are saying that the unicorn, although we says the 1 million dollars is something in a revenue, but it should be in a profitable stage, and that has also been possible with the unicorn. May I have a next slide, please? So this is just a graphical representation of a startup, of an Indian startup funding. So if you look into a 2020, even because of the COVID, you would have seen little dip on it, but if you'll see more or less, it has been rising or scaling up. So this is the between 2014 to 2020 that ecosystems recorded at 63 billion basically in funding. You have the next slide. So the top 10 startup hubs in India, if you look into, the Bangalore is the leading one, and then followed by Delhi, and then the Mumbai, Chennai, Pune, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Jaipur, Kolkata, and then Goa, and then it's go on. So if we wanted a momentum of our startups, then definitely, besides the metro towns or metro cities, it has to see from class B and C, all the towns, because unless and until we see that culture in each and every of the town, we can't see the success of these startups. Here, let's have the next slide. So now I'm focusing on a healthcare startups in India. So as of 2018, there were a total of close to 5,000 startups in the Indian healthcare space. So overall, the healthcare startups in India raised a total of 504 million between these 4 years. So this Indian healthcare market is basically valued at 372 billion by 2022. So the funding and deals, if you see, is there is a lot of scope now in our healthcare startups. So earlier, the pharmaceuticals we used to see in isolations, but when we talk about this healthcare, so it's basically a comprehensive. Now the government has been looking into the cost, which inclusive of medicines, supply chain, devices, everything, in even the maintenance or the hospitals will be the one, which will be considered in the healthcare industry. With the next slide. This slide is busy, but if you see the key sectors when we talk about the healthcare startup, number one is the biopharma. So biopharma includes the medicinal drugs, which is manufactured through the biological processes. Now today, what has changed or what has happened during the COVID time, that we were talking about, that the China, who each one of us is a hub of API, and the Indian market is exporting their products, and 40% of their products are being globally being used, a generic product. So we would been talking about that, the APIs, the chemical moieties which has been made. So India is taking not the APIs but taking N-1 product and then producing a generic products later on. Why? Because they were importing it from China. Basically, it's not that the chemistry is not strong. The chemistry is strong, but the scaling up, the government has widely supported. The Chinese government has widely supported. So their plants are, is supported by the government, and the yield is better. So they have the cost effectiveness is better for them as compared to India. So slowly what has happened in the last decade, so all the plants they have shut down, and then they have competing with the Chinese markets, and slowly this Chinese API has overtaken Indian markets. And because of the cost differences, each pharma company, and it's, as you know, that the generic is a very competitive market, is being taking API, so which is now is becoming a kind of an issue. So that is something each startups can do for a cost effectiveness, and the manufacturing processes and industrial manufacturing, which is also a very important component of the pharmaceutical market to look into. But if you look into the future, and if you look into the shift of diseases from acute therapies to chronic therapies, and also the resurgence of the metabolic diseases and oncology and cancer. So if you look into the new category of products, it is not a chemical based pharmacophore, it is a biological sources. It's a monoclonal antibodies or towards the genomic kind of a therapy. So for that you might not need a huge like the pilot scale up plants, but it's a very small, very sophisticated facilities. So there are a lot of startups, which is working in this particular area and could also be successful. The another one is the biotech R&D, which also uses the biological and technological advances to basically repair health and well-being. Diagnostic is the one, which we had all seen played a very important role during pandemic as well. And you would have witnessed in the last 4 months, there are so many vaccines, there were so many diagnostic kits, from a rapid antigens to antibody for serosurveillance to a PCR run. There are several diagnostics which was kind of in a development. And there were a lot of technologies which is indigenous, made by our CSIR, other labs. And what are they doing? I mean, basically these technologies, when they bring it to the market, so you had seen, they are not shying away from collaborating, even the labs collaborating with the industry to basically launch these products in a market. So you could see that the value proposition which is brought by our research institutes and then collaborating with the industries to come up with a product. There is also another sector of fitness and wellness, the importance of which was not realized before even the pandemic. So these are the enablers of fitness and wellness services, and specifically when the gyms were all shut up, the yoga classes, the mental health, the counseling, they all took a kind of a lead. And those industry also, or the startups has also, emerged during the pandemic. The genomics, which is focused on innovations, is the field of genome research, DNA studies, and the gene editing. Healthcare IT is also offering to help accelerate the healthcare organizational decisions and other services such as the insurance and the home healthcare services, which is brought to the patient's home. And then there are medical services, technological devices to enable the self-diagnosis of the disease, e-commerce of medicines, as I mentioned to you, online pharmacies. Once, prior to pandemic, there was a lot of debate that can this be regulated? How will you regulate? What are the licenses which is required for an online pharmacy? But nevertheless, during pandemic, everybody realized that, that is such a savior where, you can have the consultations, and then you also can have for the non-COVID diseases, the non-metabolic diseases, or other critical care diseases, the medications, as well as the counseling through the online pharmacy. Personal health management, which includes content aggregators and personal health tracking apps, is also becoming very important and also part of a startup. So you would have seen now there are a lot of watches like Apple Watch, which tracks your blood pressure, which tracks your the health, that what is your screen time, how much you are spending, is also becoming very important because we are using too many of these digital gadgets nowadays. Telemedicine, again, it was a question mark prior to pandemic. What do we do in telemedicines? But that enables the doctors consultations virtually, through the apps or web-based videos, chats, and also through the voice guidance. So telemedicine certifications is essentials, but in this time of pandemic, that has become the kind of urgency and need, specifically for the elderly care. May I have the next slide? Besides that, there are a lot of health sciences startups in India, like Giblib. We had also seen that the medical education and a pharmaceutical educations or a physiotherapy or a paramedical applications, it has become very difficult without having looking into the experimental part of it. So Giblib, which publishes medical lectures and surgical procedures from academic medical centers like a Mayo Clinics or a Stanford's, and that allow anyone to learn from the world's best doctors. So this is also a VR-based medical education's content, including the first through the VR continuing medical educations. Same as we had seen that a lot of resources shared by MHRD, AICTE during this pandemic for the free course materials, and there are a lot of even the FDPs, even if they're career counselings, even the a lot of help, even in the startups also. They had run the complete series where students can learn. Now that employability is also an issue, although there's not much a challenge in the pharmaceutical industry. Still, there is in the life sciences, there's a lot of scope, and placement is not that tough. But sooner or later, with the coming up of the artificial intelligence, the jobs are going to shrink. So there is a momentum that the your own startups, and where you can not employ yourself but can employ to another persons, is also the trend. Medlantis is also ones, which mines thousands of medical lectures. So this you had seen in medical, and this is simultaneously we are seeing in the pharma industry as well. Coursera, as you know, is a large edtech startups, and that has raised more than 210 million recently. And they have several courses. Myself, I am also done one of the course for New York on a psychology, on a psychotherapy, which is a related kind of a fields in that. Thalamus is also one which simplifies the medical residency and fellowship. There is a challenge, where is also one webinar by our PCI. And, in our 7th semester, we do have a practice schools. So in the practice schools, there is again a challenge that, in the virtual classrooms, how do you teach them to, run tableting machines or a virtual machines or a capsule filling or doing the injectables or a packaging. So these all kind of a trainings is also being kind of been possible, and maybe become a future with a 3D and artificial intelligence or a virtual labs. That is becoming a kind of a reality. Although there is one such lab which has been started by mankind and also been supported by the LSSDC, is the one which has been doing. But several such things you will see in the future. With the next slide, please. So, like that, this will go on. These are few of the examples like OPD Lift, Wellwise, Health Space, Swasth India, Osmosis, you name it. There are so many things. So just I wanted you to familiarize that what are the kind of startups which is happening in India and the US. May the next slide. So Indian healthcare startups, stand up to the pandemic challenge. There are diagnostic kits. They are in immediate need with the two companies like Trivitron Healthcare and Switzerland-based Roche Diagnostics. They're allowed to provide the test kits to the diagnostic centers. In India, Bangalore-based home healthcare service provider Portia Medica has also launched a chatbot named COVID-19. And Bangalore-based healthcare platform is also launched a healthcare plan which offers unlimited online doctor consultations. Dozy is the one, which is a device built by the Dozy and can be used for a medical grade remote monitoring of the vital parameters, which includes the heart rate and respiratory rate to monitor and vulnerable the manpower shortage. Query is also partnered with the Italian San Rafael University to deploy new solutions that automatically read and interpret the chest X-ray scans for COVID-19, and thus enabling the clinicians to monitor the disease progressions, most effectively. May I have the next slides? So now I'll introduce you to the R1 Incubation Center, just to give the example that what was our success story, and what did we do to churn, and how we supported those the incubators. So we were incorporated sometimes in 2017. This is basically to facilitate the students, faculty, alumni, and the industry associations, and to foster a culture of encouraging and building the entrepreneurs in the university, and by providing them the expertise, mentorship, industrial collaborations, and also giving them, a brief administrative and infrastructure facilities in the university campus. So vision for us is to have an incubator which is internationally recognized, and a prestigious center in a healthcare, pharma, and wellness sector. So we chose to be in these areas and specifically. And our mission is to establish an ecosystem of startups which is diverse, dense, and also has some momentum. How we have achieved this, I'll share you with a story, a journey of the deaf so far. In the next slide. Yes. So the diff journey, maybe you can just keep on clicking. So we inaugurated in October 17, 2017. So in 2018, we had 15 incubators, which is focused on, in our area with a good mix of students, alumni, and faculty, and with a very vibrant pipeline. 2 of our products are yet commercialized, and 1 is selected at Nexus. Nexus is a incubator with the American Embassy, and this is for the go-to-market advisory. The next slide. So by 2022, we aim to have Center of Excellence for innovations and entrepreneurships in healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and the wellness. So maybe the next slide. So if you see our focus area, we have competency we built up in formulations, in nanoscience, in microbiology, in cosmetology, in nutraceuticals, in Internet of Things, IoT, smart materials, 3D printing, packaging, and safety and hygiene. So these were our diverse ones. So I would wanted to share that we also had a very limited facility. We had a lot of challenges because once I started the masters and PhDs, and then we soon realized that they are too busy, and the time span with them is just 2 years. And maybe the PhD or doctorate, when they're doing a work, they can think of making it not just a research product, but thinking of making a product which they can be able to commercialize or closer to commercialize, or as a pre-incubation kind of a product which they can further work upon, or may able to approach to at least industry to take and to be able to commercialize. Maybe we'll go to the next slide. So the capacity building which we did in-house is on the formulations, which is solid, liquids, nanotech, cosmetics, and nutraceuticals. The discovery we did on a cell-free, cell-based molecular biology. And translational we did on ex vivo. We have an excellent the animal house facility which we utilized, and in diagnostics also the microbiological, and also collaborated with IIT for engineering electronic, and also with the testing to have that capabilities with the bioengineering, embedded engineering, and software hardware customization, and also with the triple ITT with the virtual reality and artificial intelligence in the diagnostics and training, and also with the industry like a Panacea, LNISH for the biotech fermentation and the downstreaming processes. In the next slide. So what would make us stand us out is our networking. Since I myself expanded and I was spearheading it, so 30 good years in networking. So I collated and brought all my classmates, alumni, which is a big strength of a network, and also the industry and the access to them. And another good thing is the very fast decision making, confidentiality which we maintain, because if you make a product and if you disclose those ideas before it is being nurtured, or there is no confidentiality, then you are not can have a startup culture. And also the recognitions basically given to the students, and also to the faculty who has been involved in doing and working it out. With the next slide. So during the COVID, some of our success stories, we made disinfectants, which is a HOCl based surface and hand disinfectant, which we are developed by the Brajkuj Industries Private Limited, one of our own startups. And this is available commercially. You can check in Amazon also. And all the PMO office, DRDO, MCD, are the one who had been using, and we came out at the time when there is a lot of scarcity of a disinfectant solution. So this has been used in a lot of the areas of a containment in Delhi. Then there was also alcohol based. They also commit with the not only the floor cleaner but also the hand cleaners, and these hand cleaners and the product HOCl is being used in a the tunnel space as well, and also the hand mist type of a dispenser. Another one, Holicon, which means the alcohol-based hand sanitizer with the name of Emerson, is also available commercially. One of them, at that moment, there was a lot of pollution in Delhi, and he came out with a pollution mask of N95, N99. Nevertheless, we knew that that will become so handy in COVID-19, which we is also available on Amazon, and he sold it. And we also started working on a prototype of a low-cost ventilator. So this was one of the Incubator company, which came from a Sharda mechanical institutes, and this is again still in a design stage. The next slide. These were something which we did in this thing. So these are just the glimpses of that, how we started up. We did a health hackathon to come out with 16 of such these resources. We had work on maybe more than 200 shortlisted projects. Out of that, 10 or 20, which were there and which we could hand it and can make handy into that. Maybe the next slide, please. So there is also, as I said, there is a lot of support from a government. So launch of a MHRD, Institutional Innovation Council, that is from a Ministry of Human Resource Development, and we have established an innovation cell. So we thought that right in the beginning or in the first year, when they join the institutes, at that particular moment, just coming from a school, they're very enthusiastic. So to foster this culture of innovations amongst all these higher education institutes. So the primary mandate of this MIC Innovation Cell is to encourage, inspire, and nurture the young students towards the culture of innovations. The next slide. So there are a lot of government schemes for a startup and an incubator support, like a National Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Board. And this provides the support through its institutional mechanisms, namely National Initiatives for Developing and Harnessing Innovations, and it is called NIDHI. There is a NewGen Innovations and Entrepreneurships Development Center, NewGen IEDC, Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Development STED, Project Innovation Science and Technology Based Entrepreneurships Development, which is called ISTED. And there is also a Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Park STEP, and a technology business innovation is called TBI. So these are all the government schemes. There is also a Atal Innovation Mission, which is called AIM. So this Atal Innovation Mission is set up by Niti Aayog. That's the premier policy think tank of the government of India. And AIM is basically to promote innovation culture. And this is gives the entrepreneur national and international experience to foster a culture of innovation and R&D in India. And there is also a biotechnology industry research assistance like a BIREC. As I mentioned to you, we apply to a BIREC and we got close to 5 crore grants to make a BioNest. So this is to set up a department of biotechnology, and it's an interface agency to strengthen and empower the emerging biotech and healthcare enterprises to undertake the strategic research and innovations, and it addressed nationally relevant product development schemes. So BIREC University Innovation Cluster, or the Bio Incubators Nurturing Entrepreneurships for Scaling Technologies, BioNest, and also they have a funds. There is also a Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, TRUF. Its technology incubation and development schemes aims to assist the institution of higher learning to strengthen their technology incubation centers, and also basically enable the young entrepreneurs to initiate the technology startup companies. So this is not the comprehensive list. This is just to give you in essence that there are a lot of schemes which has been available. May I move to the next slide? And there is a MSME, which is the Ministry of micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSME has various schemes and programs under the SMA divisions. And MSME schemes, you can look into the website. I'll not go into a detail. They have a Aspire programs. Is a scheme for a support for entrepreneurial and managerial development of that. And they also have, lot of schemes to strengthen, to train, to give the infrastructure, also even give the support, if you have some intellectual property, so you can, apply for PCI applications. They even fund for that. And definitely each state governments under the various policies and schemes. For example, the scheme for assistance for startups innovation announced by the industry commissioners of the government of Gujarat supports nodal institutes that can assist the startups and innovation. So there are a lot of support system which has been available in the system. So this is, I'm close to my last of slides. So as an incubator of like a DPSRU, like one of ours, the role is to, basically speed up the growth. So incubation should be seen as the process of de-risking an idea or a startup and helping them improve the odds of success. So through the support, we give them a lot of support so they are successful. So these startup incubators are institutions that help the entrepreneurs to develop their business, especially in the initial stages. And they also support including the technological facility, advices, initial growth funds, network linkages. We also provide them co-working spaces, lab facilities, mentoring support, advisory supports. And the incubators, they have an important role in the government's Startup India schemes. And incubators can recommend the startups for availing the benefits from DPIT, that's the Ministry of Commerce, under the Startup India scheme. And the government startup policies give prime role of incubators by giving them recognitions, regulations, guidelines, and the financial helps. So with this, thank you very much, and it's open to kind of a questions. I think I've taken more than an hour, maybe 5-10 minutes in setting up the slides, but probably, this is to just give you an overview of what is a startup, what is an innovation, and how and also given you a journey which we had done in last 2-3 years, and successfully rolled out 16 startups, on which 5 of them also exited in the commercial product. So our success rate was very high. And the dream of having your own company and being a founder of a company, they have lived as a students. So 2 of the students, one of them which I shared is the Brajkush, is the one who is doing PhD with me, and I mentored that startup of HOCL, and he's manufacturing and selling and minting money. The second one which I mentioned to is Evolmed, which made the lot of mask, is also being very successful and has been selling busy. And the Holicon is also been doing. One of the another startup is from faculty is also like Dr. Geeta Agarwal. She's made up the solutions for a cold chain storage packaging solutions. So that has been validated packaging for a cold storage is also being successful. The another one has also made the prosthetic limbs, which we have given it to the Rotary, and that's an upgraded prosthesis. So the basically the joy of serving to the community and society is very high, and in a very short time, they could see them as a successful entrepreneurs. So I hope I was able to do justice to whatever time
Yes.
spent to me to.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. There is a question from moderator itself. How
Okay.
much fund do government offers to startup, or is it a collateral loan?
Actually, as I mentioned to you, it will be different schemes. If you talk about like, since we were the incubators, so they give incubators a fund. Like for example, we got say 1.5 crores. So out of that, 60, 70 crores, 60 or 70 lakhs, sorry, we have given as a seed fund. So we gave them 7 lakhs to 10, 20 lakhs to each of the incubatee, basically depending upon their project, depending upon their propositions, how much they needed for that. So once they have a seed money, it becomes very easier for them that, to call the investors for that. Then you don't need, and specifically, even if you have a small money, for say few lakhs of a government money, and if they've spent into that, for example, in our incubator, it's very easy for them, value propositions, they have to pitch it and get it. See, it's a harsh word of commercializations. So, and this is different than getting a research grant, because, at the end of the day, uh, somebody has to make profit out of it, right? So, if I am investing, if the investor is investing, for example, 1 lakh today, I'm looking at the return of, say, more than what I can get from a bank or what I can get from a mutual funds. That is the reason I would invest in that particular company. Either if it's a social enterprise, it's different, but otherwise, you had to see that you are giving a value proposition and you are giving an opportunity where you can have a commercialized product available. Hope I have answered your question, because again, on a project basis, you get the fund from a buyer, you get from the kind of like any other kind of agency. MSME gives you a 4 lakhs to 6 lakhs to every startups. In a Atal incubations, in an incubator also you get a funds like 10-20 lakhs with that. It depends upon vary from your the projects where you get.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Madam, you touched upon startups in India, then geographical distribution of startups. It was very informative. Then you thrown light on healthcare startups in India. It was an informative one. Key sectors. Basically, this was a key. There was a key sectors as far as health products are concerned. That is, pharmaceutical products are concerned. And you motivated the delegates by putting a story of your own startup, that is DPSRU, and you played a significant role in against COVID-19 also by providing some of the sanitizers and other products. You discussed about government schemes for startups and incubation support, and most important role of incubators growth in startup. Okay, so these are the things which you discussed in detail. There is one more question. May I ask this question to you, ma'am, please?
Yeah, sure.
The question is from Mayuresh. COVID-19 occurs or boon for placement as a fresher in pharma industry.
You know, any pandemic, I will never say it's a boon, but yes, with every pandemic, with every say a disaster happens, it also brings a lot of hope and opportunities as well. So, I mean, what do you want to mean as a placement as a fresher in pharma industry is basically, the pharma industry has been impacted, but not so much. In the beginning, we had seen there is a lot of impact because of the supply chain, basically due to the lockdown. But definitely, if you see, the demand is the same. The importance of the pharma industry is kind of is not going to change. That's what I have been saying, is that again, there is a lot of need now for a or lot of things which is happening in the area of artificial intelligence. So if you are a fresher, probably in a times to come, it's a challenge, because AI is in a big way which has been coming. Everybody realized that sometimes you can have a shortage of a manpower, but at the same time there is a technology which will come into a play. So definitely the manpower planning becomes very, very important. The job of 5 people probably is done by the one, but at the same time there is also a lot of importance of pharmacovigilance. There is a lot of importance of the distributions and the requirement of the graduates in the hospital, and also play a very important role, basically in that. So it's in case brought a lot of opportunities, or maybe you can say a boon as well. So every disaster also gives you something to live in, hope as well as opportunity. Diagnostics is
Thank
the
you,
area
madam.
which we had all ignored. Medical device is the area which pharma sector has almost ignored. It's been taken up more by biotechnologies and all. So diagnostic is the one area which has now seen a lot of say growth by the pharma scientists, that they really need to play a very important role in diagnosis as well.
Okay, there is one more question from Dr. Neha Gandhi. How can the research formulation product at an academic level be reached to industries? What can be the initial steps towards this?
I have touched base this thing. If you have a research formulations, how much is that validated? Because when we talk about, I'm very sorry to say that, I'm very scared that, although I spend some time, but when I see even in the best of our students, when they come out with a product, with that, there are a lot of things which has been missing. So right from that, you are not following that protocol. So one thing is that I think it's a good thing that in the fourth year itself you have a regulatory subjects, because when you come up with a product, there is always a master formula. There is always a the DMF which is to be made whenever this product. So you have to always keep in this mind that this product, if it has to reach a market, it needs to be bulk produced. It needs to be scale up from the your research lab to a pilot scale, and pilot scales to a manufacturing, and from the manufacturing again, the processes is very important. So industrial manufacturing processes, which at one time was in focus, is not been kind of a focus. We are also always very get pleased with just making some research kind of a formulation, but never looked into the costing, processing, the industrial engineering, industrial engineering. At some time, we all lost focus of that why the pharmaceutical engineering is being kind of a taught to us. But then when you go to an industry or when you are making any formulation of a product, then you realize the importance of a research formulation, also the industrial engineering technique. So in an academic level, yes, it can be if you work with that mind scale and if you see there is a scope in developing this product. So definitely, it takes a time, and you have to follow the rules, apply your softwares. QBD, quality by design, is the one applications which if you start following the QBD, you at least optimize your formulations, and then at least go to the pre-formulation stage, and once you see a hope, then you can see that. Another mistake which I wanted to point out is, which I've seen, is a lot of pharmacy institutes are now making a herbal extracts. I don't know. I have seen a lot of cases now. They are all, taking some kind of a leaf and making some extract, and then taking it out and making their neo zones and another zones and doing a, testing. How can you be sure that these products, when you are mixing two plant extracts, can what is the sourcing? You don't even think of that, the sourcing, the actives, the phytoconstituents into that. What is the supply? What will happen? So if you have not fine tuned those parameters, then it is very difficult to basically commercialize the formulations at any stage. So from a research stage only, you have to be very conscious. Even when you are spending your 1 year, I suggest that normally, since I've done my work in UK, and I realized that when we were working over here in experiments, in an entire year we were doing only 2 experiments, wherein we are making a formulations and also testing or stabilizing it. While when we are graduating here, then we are making a formulations and throwing it in the same day, not even checking that whether your formulation which you made is stable or not. Not even accelerated, not even these studies which is been done, which you do it in somewhere else in some other subject. So it's very important that you are well aware of the first processes, go through the regulations, what kind of a documentation has been required. If that has been introduced to you right in the beginning, then at least you know that what you required to file those formulations. If you know those processes, that these are the documents needed, then at least you prepare for it. It's a very simple logic. that, if you know for admissions you need these parameters, so you try to achieve that. So similarly, to launch a product, so first you see that what you needed, so you start working towards that way, towards that. I think that simple solutions, which I always encourage my own students to do that.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you for nice and wonderful session. It was very enthusiastic session. I am thankful to Dr. Harvinder Popli, ma'am, for her valuable session. On behalf of Bokle Education Society, Sir Dr. M.S. Gosavi College of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, we are organizing this 5 days international e-FDP and SDP in association with Indian Pharmaceutical Association Nasik branch. I am thankful to you, ma'am, please. I am also thankful to Professor S.S. Boroste, sir, moderator of this session, for his keen observation for this session. I am thankful to coordinators, Dr. Rupali Patil and Dr. Shilpa Harag, for her valuable guidance. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.